everyone, it's me again, Brittany, and I'm here today to film a TBR video, which is exciting because I think it's been a couple of months since I filmed my last TBR video. I don't know if this is going to be a thing that I start back up again. I really just wasn't feeling TBRs because I wasn't really completing my TBRs. I was thinking about stopping them altogether, but for the month of September I decided to give it one more go, mostly because I'm very excited about a readathon that's going on, and that is the BRATZ readathon. I'm Team Yasmin, if you didn't know. Which you might not know. If you don't follow me on Instagram or on Twitter, then you probably didn't see a couple of months ago I posted a picture. I don't know, it was something along the lines of like wanting to be Yasmin, and yeah, I mean obviously, can you not tell? We both have a mole right under our eye. We're both Latinx. We're both kind of blonde. I don't know. When I was a kid, I used to love BRATZ. I feel like they were definitely the superior doll. Their fashion sense was everything. Their hair was everything. They themselves were just so cool. They were everything that I wanted to aspire to be when I was young, and I definitely loved them a lot more than Barbies. And I'm kind of bummed because I had a pretty large collection at one point, and I have no idea where any of them are. And it's actually kind of funny because I used to cut all of my doll's hair, but I never ever cut my BRATZ hair because I loved them so much. Yasmin was hands down my favorite BRATZ, and so to see this readathon happening and to see it be centered around the four main girls, I'm into it. I'm so into it. Before we can get into the TBR portion, I do want to say a big ol' thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. I've worked with Book of the Month a couple of other times this year already, and I've just been really adoring the service. My Book of the Month box for this month, it is a little bit larger than the ones that I've gotten in the past, just because they've actually made a blue box, I guess, for if you get all 5 of the books that they offer in a month. If you aren't already aware, Book of the Month is an amazing online subscription service, and the subscription service works like this. Every single month their team goes through hundreds of books that are coming out within that month from new and emerging authors, and narrows it down and picks out 5 books for their subscribers to choose from. And then we as subscribers pick one of those books every single month, and then that book gets sent to our doorstep. But there is really no risk, because if for some reason you don't end up liking the books that they pick out for the month, you can always skip without any penalties at all, and you can just wait until the next month to see what's going on there. I forgot to mention that sometimes their book picks are even earlier releases, so books that won't be coming out for maybe a couple of months. Book of the Month actually has the best price for new release fiction because the subscription only costs $14.99 a month, and you are getting a new or early release hardcover adult fiction book, which we all know how much those run for, about $30. So it's an amazing deal to find books and to discover new reading tastes. And the best part is that they have offered me a code for you guys to use so that you can actually get your first box for $9.99 instead of $14.99. So just use this code right here to get your first box for $9.99. Let's open this up because you guys know how I feel about opening things. It's just so exciting. I really like opening things up. It's just exciting for me. I'm a gift enthusiast. We got a little bookmark in there, and then these are the 5 book picks for September. We have Transcendent by Gyasi. This sounds actually like something I would be incredibly interested in. We're following Gifty, who is a 6-year PhD candidate in neuroscience at the Stanford University School of Medicine, studying reward-seeking behavior in mice and the neural circuits of depression and addiction. Because her brother was a gifted high school athlete who died of a heroin overdose after an ankle injury left him hooked on Oxycontin. She has a suicidal mother living with her, and she is determined to find the scientific basis for this reaction. When I was studying psychology, I took actually a ton of neuroscience classes. I think I was like maybe 1 class away from declaring it a minor, or like from being able to have graduated with it as a minor. So I've always been really interested in that aspect, so it's kind of cool to see that in a book. Then we have Cast: The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. This is really cool. I think this is a nonfiction, which, if I'm not mistaken, normally they do not do nonfiction books in their picks for the month, but I'm really happy because Book of the Month has really been expanding and diversifying their picks even more lately. They've just really emphasized it lately, and I can't wait to see how it keeps going. This one looks like it's following the real stories about real people in America and how throughout its history America has been shaped by a hidden caste system. Then we have Winter Counts by David Heska Wanblee Wyden. That is a mouthful. Oh, it looks like heroin finds its way onto a reservation and finds our main character Virgil's nephew. Then we have Frederick Backman. That's the author. We have Anxious People by Frederick Backman, a poignant, charming novel about a crime that never took place, a would-be bank robber who disappears into thin air, and 8 extremely anxious strangers who find they have more in common than they ever imagined. And then we have The Last Story of Mina Lee by Nancy Juyeon Kim. A mother-daughter story and surprising mystery, The Last Story of Mina Lee is a profound debut novel that illustrates the devastating realities of being an immigrant in America. So those are the 5 book picks for Book of the Month. If any of them interest you, or if you just want to check out their site, just be sure to check the link in my description box. I always leave everything linked down below for you guys. But let's get into the BRATZ TBR. My bullet journal. I don't know if my bullet journal video has already gone up when this video is going up, but for the most part all of the books on my TBR fit with the questions, or not the questions, but the fit with the challenges for Team Yasmin. But I did pick out quite a few, so I don't know if I'm gonna read them all, but I have options, and now you guys have options as well if you're on Team Yasmin. But our first challenge is gonna be Pretty Princess, read a book with a crown on the cover. And this one was surprisingly hard for me because all I could think of was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. And if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend that for this challenge. It's so good. But I did find one. And that's gonna be Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova, and there is a crown on this cover, and this is the Fairlead edition. It does look a little bit different, but it's so stunning, and I'm really glad to have an excuse to read this. In this, we're actually following Renata, who was only a child when she was kidnapped by the crown, because she has a very rare magic, and that is that she is a memory thief. So she was being used to do the king's bidding. But now, years later, she is actually working as a rebel spy. But when her commander is captured by El Príncipe Dorado, she has to somehow make her way back to the castle, back to the crown, and rescue him. But she has to end up battling with her desire to save him and her desire to take down the crown when this happens, and returning to the palace may unlock memories that she never knew she had. Not only does it have a crown on the cover, but it's also a Own Voices Latinx novel, and you guys actually told me that it was based off of something specific, and I cannot remember it anymore, but I'm sorry. So if you told me, you can tell me again. I'll try and remember this time. And the cool thing is that that book can count for 3 out of the 5 challenges on Team Yasmin, because the next challenge is Latinx, and that is to read an Own Voices Latinx book. So you could read Incendiary, or you could read Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez. I am so excited. I was so excited when I got this earlier in the year, and I just never got around to being able to pick it up. So this is a really good excuse as well, but it's also a Spanish-inspired, or I believe it's like Bolivian-inspired fantasy. And we follow Ximena, who is a decoy condesa. She's a decoy, she's a body double for the last living Illustrian royal. You can imagine, her job is very important. And they desperately want to get back La Ciudad from the people that took it away from them. And Ximena has a very special ability of being able to weave thread with moonlight. So when Atok, the person that stole La Ciudad from them, demands the last Illustrian's hand in marriage, Ximena goes in her place, and she relishes the opportunity to be able to steal an ancient relic and maybe be able to get the Illustrians back in their throne. But if you weren't in the mood for fantasy, don't worry, I got you. Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. So I actually still haven't read this, but I really want to. It is told in verse, which you guys know. I'm absolutely in love with books that are told in verse. I think that it's just one of my favorite formats, and I've heard amazing things about this audiobook, so 100% I'm going to be listening to the audiobook while following along physically. We are following 2 different storylines, one who lives in New York City, the other who lives in the Dominican Republic. Both, though, have the same father, and neither know about each other. And this all kind of comes to a head when their father's plane crashes and goes down in the ocean right outside of the Dominican Republic, and they both find out about this. And eventually they learn about each other, and I'm assuming that they find like a sisterly companionship that they never knew they needed. I mean, it'll probably be a little bit dramatic at first. I would be very offended if I found out that I had a sister when I thought I was an only child this entire time. But I know there's a lot of only children that actually wish to have siblings. That's just not me. but maybe they are. Either way, I can only imagine that to have someone that shares in the burden and that pain would be very healing, so I'm really excited to finally get to this. The next challenge is Hopeless Romantic, which is read a book with a love story in it, with a romance, and I think that any of the books that I've talked about will basically cover that challenge, because I don't think it specifically has to be a romance, just have romance in it, and most of these books do. But I was looking through my books that I really wanted to read this year list, and I've realized that I haven't read a lot of them. So the first book is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I was so excited. When I saw this movie, I fell absolutely head over heels in love with it last year, and I immediately went out and bought the book, but then I kind of heard mixed reviews about the books and it put me off wanting to read it. But I was actually checking my Libby app, because I do use Libby for a majority of my audiobooks. It uses your library card to rent audiobooks, and this one was ready to be borrowed, so I borrowed it, and I want to read it this month. I'm so excited to finally read the story behind the movie. I've heard that the movie is better, which is always shocking, but I can't wait to actually check it out for myself and see if it's true. But another book with a romance in it is Heartstopper Volume 2, and this also was on my books that I anticipated to read this year list. I definitely wanted to have at least one kind of like graphic novel on the list, but I couldn't really find any that would fit these challenges except for Heartstopper, and I think that this is gonna be so perfect. I have been in a more like contemporary romance mood lately, which is so unlike me. So I think that having this to read will be nice, and it's gonna be a nice break because, I mean, we already have two pretty big, not big, but we have two heavier fantasies on my list, you know? I don't want to add too many. Let me just read you the tagline. It says, Nick and Charlie are best friends. Nick knows Charlie's gay, and Charlie is sure that Nick isn't. But love works in surprising ways. I don't want to read you the rest because this is the tagline for the second book, not the first, so there's that. All you really have to know is that it is a wholesome and sweet story of friendship and potential romance and just sweetness. Very much sweetness. The next challenge is gonna be animal rescue. Read a book with an animal on the cover. Guys, when I tell you that I really related to Yasmin, because I mean, you all know I've just always been an animal lover. I mean, I was an only child, so all I had were my dogs, and that's really all I ever wanted or needed. Well, that in my BRATZ. I had Barbies too, and Polly's. Polly's were pretty cool. Either way, I just really loved it. I loved Yasmin. I always felt very represented. It's just cool because she is more of like a dirty blonde, which my natural shade tends to be, well, right now it's not because I don't go outside, more of a dirty blonde, and my skin tone is not as nice and tanned as hers. I'm pale unless I'm in the sun for a lot, but now I wear a lot of sunscreen. And I had the mole, and I speak Spanish and come from like a Spanish heritage, and I just always felt very represented, even before I really knew what that means. And it's kind of cool because I can honestly say that Yasmin's probably the character that is most like me that looks like me, and that's pretty cool. I feel like I never really see lighter Hispanic people in anything, really. I mean, occasionally there will be, but it's pretty rare. Sorry about that tangent. I have a couple of books for this challenge as well, one of which I have actually already read, but I am more than willing to reread it. And I don't know if the vlog has gone up yet for my birthday week. I don't think it has, but I read it in that vlog. And that's gonna be Cody by Jared Cullum. This was actually sent to me by the author. It was absolutely lovely. They reached out to me and I was like, this sounds right up my alley. Let me tell you. Let's talk about it, and then you can see how much this book was made for me. We're following a little girl who comes across a bear that's been hurt in the woods, and it's a very sweet bear, and she gets her grandma to help her get the bear out of its trap, and the bear goes and lives with her while it's healing, and they become best friends. But the little girl has to go back to her home city, and she has to tell the bear goodbye very suddenly, but the bear is just not willing to let that be the end of it, and he goes on an adventure to go and find the little girl again and for them to be reunited, and it's just so touching. Like, I really want to reread it. The art style is stunning. It's perfect. So I highly recommend you guys trying this out if you want a good animal rescue style story. I mean, I leave all the books I talk about linked in my description, but definitely check this one out as well. Did I say that the challenge was for an animal to be on the cover? Because I don't honestly remember, but either way, there's an animal on the cover for that. There's also a snake on Woven in Moonlight, so you can use that as well. This one, which is Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron, and there's one snake right here. This one I've actually already started for the month, which is why I wanted it to also be on my TBR, but it definitely fits with that challenge if you needed anything else to read a book. In this, Ara is magicless, which is very, very surprising because she comes from a family of extremely powerful witch doctors, but she has lived her whole 16 years and she still can't read the bones, still can't see in the future, still can't touch the magic that she can see. But there is one thing she hasn't tried, and that is to sell years of her life to get a taste of magic. But it's also something that she never would do, something that her family told her to never try because you never know how many years they'll take and when they'll take them. But when children start vanishing in her kingdom, Ara decides that that is the one and only thing that she can do to find out what's happening, and what she discovers brings her to her knees because there is a demon king awakening, a demon king who will absolutely destroy the world with his hunger, but maybe not if Ara is willing to risk the price for the magic to save her world. It just sounds so cool. And the last challenge, which is actually the reason that the BRATZ readathon is being held, is Nevra and Roxy. Nevra and Roxy are dolls that are coming out later on this year, and I believe that Nevra and Roxy are the first sapphic couple that, I mean, in general, I don't think there are any dolls that have really done sapphic couples, but specifically the BRATZ dolls have made, so that's really exciting and they look stunning. We love to see it. And this is actually to read the group book, and that is the Henna Wars. In the Henna Wars, Nishat is dealing with a really, really traumatic time because she comes out to her family and her family tells her she can be whoever she wants to be as long as she isn't herself, because Muslim girls are not lesbians. And this gets even harder when Flavia walks into Nishat's life. Flavia is beautiful, charismatic, and Nishat falls for her instantly until their school has a competition to create your own business, and both girls decide to create henna businesses, even though Flavia would be appropriating Nishat's culture to do it. But even still, even amidst all of the chaos, all of the drama, all of the sabotage, Nishat can't help but still kind of harbor a crush for Flavia and maybe realizes that there's more to her than meets the eye. It's gonna be an interesting one. I'm really excited about this. I actually saw it a couple of months ago, and when I saw that this was gonna be the group book, I was so hyped. I still have to get my copy of it, so we're waiting. And I believe that there is also a kind of like soft challenge of watching any one media of the BRATZ, so whether that be like the animated movie, the live action movie, which I would not recommend, just within the month, watching anything that is BRATZ related. But there is actually one more book on my TBR for the month. When I was looking through my shelves, which is really difficult right now because if you can't tell, I still haven't gotten the last shelf to be able to complete my shelf wall, so my books are just on the ground stacked. But this was right out in the open, and that's Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee. I am so excited. This is on my most anticipated books of the year, and I've just been in this mood. I think it has something to do with having recently read The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kong, but I just need more shaman magic. Because in this we follow Saoirse, who has been training her entire life to be the queen's spy, but her plans are absolutely derailed when her best friend dies, and she uses shaman magic to bring him back from the dead. A magic that had been thought to be long ago lost. Unveiled to be the first soul guide in living memory, she gets summoned to the domain of the Spider King. The Spider King has ruled over the Dead Wood for centuries. The Dead Wood is a very creepy forest that has been possessed by souls. But she needs to quickly gain control over her powers and hopefully gain control over the woods to hold back a war that is looming and to also save her best friend from being claimed by the forest. It just sounds so good. I am here for it. But that is actually it for this TBR video today. I feel like it's gonna be really long. Again, thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. Check them out if you would like to, guys, and also check out any of these books if you wanted to, you know, see them for yourself or get more information if my summaries did not suffice. I'm so excited about the BRATZ readathon. I will try and link down below any of the information on it that I might have missed. But yeah, let me know if you guys are participating, what team you're on. If you're not participating, just let me know what BRATZ doll was your absolute favorite, because I think in like order of favorites for me, It was 100% Yasmin. My second was Jade. My third was Sasha. See, Jade and Sasha switched for me because it depended on the fashion. Chloe was always my least favorite, which is kind of unfortunate, but I don't know what I had against very blonde dolls. I think it's because I always wanted to be very blonde as a child and I just disliked dolls that got to be very blonde. That's definitely my ranking of like the original Bratz dolls, so let me know yours. I'm so excited to hear it. That's gonna be it for this video today, guys. Thanks for staying around. I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye! I can barely see myself. Why would I? There's a mirror right over there. I want it to be fashionable. Like Yasmin. Yet here we are. I have a lip gloss. Gloss? Wait, how do I not have a single gloss in here? That wasn't grammar clip. That wasn't grammatically correct. Okay. Luna, don't I always have gloss? I don't have gloss. I kind of forgot what I wanted to say about them. This happens. I got really excited about Bratz. That works. I am now realizing I should have had my hair like this for the whole video. I am not refilming this. I'm not. I'm just, I can't do it. That feels so nice. My cheeks are so red. And not in that cute, like, flushed way. Like, oh my gosh, she's blushing. No, in that, like, are you okay? Did you get sunburnt? Are you gonna collapse? My face gets red. I dropped it. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.